You know, I never thought I would say this, but the iPad has now becoming must again in my home setup, and after a couple of months, I had to go back to the iPad Pro instead of the iPad Air. Now, if you saw my other video on the iPad Air, you know that I really think there is a space for the iPad in general, but more specifically, it can mainly be used as a companion rather than a standalone device. And even though this iPad Pro costs more than a MacBook Air, it's still highly limited due to iPadOS and the fact that forever in Apple's eyes, the iPad will always be a tablet first. But that doesn't mean that this device isn't capable of being used like a power device for students, artists, and other creative people. In fact, I'm going to include myself in that part of creative people because I'm a content creator and there's so many use cases that I can get out of the iPad that the Mac just simply can't do. And for that, I needed the top of the line iPad Pro with the tandem OLED, the 13-inch, and the M4 chip. Okay, so maybe I am just hyping up the 13-inch iPad Pro because you definitely won't be needing all of that power that the M4 chip provides to do everything that you need. With every iPad now being on iPadOS, you will be able to do everything that you need on an iPad and don't necessarily need the top of the line iPad Pro with the M4 chip. Even iPadOS 18 is still usable on quite a few iPad generations, so if you would rather go with an older generation and save some money, I definitely recommend that. But if you definitely want the best of the best, the M4 iPad Pro just does not disappoint, which is why I have now upgraded to the Pro as my tablet companion to my Mac and will be attempting to become a power user of iPadOS over the next year. So if you are interested in also becoming a power user of iPadOS, make sure that you guys get subscribed to also learn a thing or two about iPadOS and how it can be optimized and become a better tool within the Apple ecosystem. One thing to keep in mind when making a purchase decision between the iPad Air and the iPad Pro is that the Air will be able to do 98% of the things that the Pro can do, and you will get all of the benefits because they're both on iPadOS. That's why when you're thinking about either one of these, just choose one that fits your budget the best and don't overspend because you don't need the Pro to get all of those benefits. But if you are curious on what the 2% difference is, in case you have a little bit extra budget and you're curious about what you're missing out from the Pro, most of it does have to do with the screen. It has Face ID instead of Touch ID. It's an OLED display instead of an LED display, meaning the screen also gets brighter. It has a higher refresh rate, and it also has ProMotion, which is just VRR or variable refresh rate. The larger difference for me though is the speaker volume, and the bass is just so much better on the iPad Pro, and the USB-C port on the Pro is actually a Thunderbolt 4 port instead of being a USB 3, which will allow for faster transfer speeds between my external SSDs that I use and the iPad Pro. Other differences like the flash and LiDAR are still taken into the 2%, but with how little use most people get out of the camera on the iPad, they are very low in the percentile of must-haves. But where the real use happens with an iPad and iPadOS is in the other 98 percentile where everything else is shared and they have it in common. For one thing, the Apple Pencil, whether it's the Pro or not, they also have slightly differences, but honestly, they share so many similarities that with either one that you go with, you're still going to get the benefits of an Apple Pencil. All of the Pro apps as well, like Final Cut Pro, Procreate, LumaFusion, Affinity Suite, Adobe Suite, GoodNotes, Notability, and so much more are also shared between the iPad Air and the iPad Pro, and Final Cut Pro for iPad even works on the newer iPad mini. Even gaming on the iPad works the same across all iPads. You get the same benefit. Most of them are going to be supported by all of the modern apps as long as they can also go to iPadOS 18. What I would recommend is to just make sure that the main app you're looking to get the iPad for is supported by the iPad that you're looking to get. But if you just don't know or you want to keep your options open, if you just stick with an M series iPad, you should be set for quite a few years to come as well. And being set for a few years is why I stuck with the iPad Pro, and that's really going to be where I'm going to be using this iPad for a few years. Like I said, I want to be a power user in 2025, so definitely leave your top app recommendations down in the comments and subscribe if you do want to learn more about iPadOS and how you yourself can become a power user. Thank you guys for watching. Click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will catch you guys in the next one.